Well, welcome everybody to the planning board, Sherborne Planning Board of February the 10th. The time, according to my computer, is 7:01. So I make a motion to open this planning board meeting for February the 10th at 7:01. Do I have a second?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Steph?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Brett?
Aye.
Rob?
Aye.
And I, Frank Cookman, aye as well. Are there any items not anticipated by the chair 48 hours in advance of this meeting? Hearing none, I will continue reading the rest of the agenda and make a motion to accept the agenda. We have minutes to review and approve from January the 20th and February the 3rd. We have a hearing at 7:15, which is the addition and amendments to the Sherborne General Bylaw, Chapter 200, Stormwater Management, and the Sherborne Zoning Bylaw, Chapter 240, Section 3.2, Schedule of Uses, 240-3.2, Table of Uses, and 240-3.3, Living Accommodation in Non-Residential Buildings. Current Planning Board business, Item 1, update on zoning bylaw review. Item 2, annual town meeting, ATM timeline and warrant language. And lastly, annual town meeting report. And then we'll have other business reports on meetings with other boards and entities, and we'll have a town planner report, should there be any. With that, I've made the motion for this agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, Steph?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Brett?
Aye.
Rob?
Aye.
And I, Frank Cookham, and I as well. And just by the way, the reason I go in the order that I do is just that's what I see on my screen Zoom, so it just makes it easy for me. Not picking on anybody. So with that said, has everybody had a chance to review the minutes for January the 20th?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So were there any comments, any edits to that, those sets of meeting minutes?
I had one small detail to add, that Tom Trainer was present at that meeting as well.
Okay, and I'm looking for my copy. Where do I have?
I can put them up if that's helpful on the screen.
I think so. Please. If you scroll down, I'm not sure if it was on this or the other one. No, go back up a little bit, please. Let me look at mine.
Are we waiting for something, Frank, to?
Yeah, I'm
Go
trying
through.
to find my copy of it. I apologize. I don't know if I can find it quickly enough. I did try to highlight it in mine.
And it
Okay.
was germane to the content as opposed to just like
It
typo
was,
fixing
it
and
was the
stuff.
February 3rd one, so it was not this one. So I'm okay with this one. I'm sorry. So we can continue on to the second one if everybody's good with that. So the February the 3rd one.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'll pull up that one. I added Arthur's name.
okay, where it says Frank moved that the board endorse the A&R roll call vote. If you look at the second sentence, which starts goal.
What page is on? Am I missing it?
This should be on the beginning of the top of the second page.
Oh, I thought you were okay.
I'm sorry, yeah, yeah. It's
Yep.
right at the end of the A&R. Frank moved to that the board endorse the A&R. Then it says Frank asked board members who would like to for all members to sign the endorsement, blah blah blah, on behalf the board's behalf. Then it says goal to have the first public hearing over the summer with work continuing throughout the fall and concluding around next 2027. That does not belong there.
Yeah, I deleted the whole paragraph in my version because I didn't feel like that discussion was germane to what the decision of the planning board. So all we needed to know was that it was endorsed and then it was moved that you sign on behalf, in my opinion. So I didn't think the whole paragraph needed to be there.
That's fine.
I also put that
You left the sentence, then
I
Steph
had
moved to
seconded.
have Frank sign. That's what you left.
Yep.
Right. Okay. And
Anything else?
I'm looking. I don't believe so.
Okay, I think I have one or two more things. Okay, so this comment, I just wanted to sort of capture how it was characterized as it was submitted. It said ensure that the current project meets these standards. And I don't think they're all standards, and I didn't want it to say ensure. So just sort of change the wording here. So Brian was suggesting that we consider an opportunity for the current project to protect drinking water of neighbors through more advanced stormwater management, EHI, or septic restrictions. Just to sort of characterize what it was he was suggesting and not have those words about standards and ensuring. And then just a little bit more context here about why I had made this comment because he had asked a question. So I added that in. And I think that was it. So, and does anyone else have anything they want to add here?
So I see Rob shaking his head no. Jim, you're good with all this and don't have any other changes?
I don't think so.
And Brett?
Nope, looks good to me.
All right, then I move that we accept the January 20th minutes as proposed and accept the February 3rd minutes as amended.
Both of them would be as amended. Sorry, friendly amendment, Frank, because Tom's name wasn't captured in the first.
Okay. So let me restate that motion that we accept the amended minutes for both January the 20th and February the 3rd. Do I hear a second?
Second.
It's been moved in second, and all those in favor? Rob?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Brett?
Aye.
Steph?
Aye.
And I, Frank, will come in aye as well. Great. So that takes care of the minutes. We have about 6 minutes before our hearing. Heidi, do you have anything that you would like to share with us in the 6 minutes?
I would love to vote the warrant language, but I think we should do that as part of the public hearing for the actual sections. So how about update on the zoning bylaw review? We are meeting this Thursday to get the initial audit review back from the consultant. And so hope to have more information going forward. We can do number 2, the annual town meeting timeline and warrant language. So tonight, we're going to be having the public hearing on what the warrant articles are. We will have to vote on the actual wording that will be put in the warrant because that has to go to the select board on Thursday. So that was one of the items I sent around that shows we have 2 warrant articles that will be at town meeting, and then what the language is that will be printed up in the warrant, the advisory report for those.
Heidi,
Yes.
this is Jane. Just a question on that. Is there when you say it has to go to the select board on Thursday, would there be any other shot at that? And the reason I'm asking is that in the language, it says that we're going to call this the Stormwater and Land Disturbance Management. And earlier today, Steph and Joyce and I had a call in preparation for a call, partly in preparation for a call with town council on Thursday, she had raised an issue about why we were combining stormwater and land disturbance management, and we want to talk to her about that. And you know, if for some reason she tells us that we really shouldn't be combining these two or calling it that, you know, potentially we might want to change that language. So I just don't know, you know, how you'd like to handle that. Hopefully it'll be fine, but we just are not really sure why she raised the issue when we don't know what she's going to tell us on Thursday.
I know, and this is very early for the select board to ask for our exact language. But I was told that they would like to get this for their Thursday meeting. I think we could probably put that in with a asterisk for them to say it's, you know, this is going to town council on Thursday, and maybe we'll have an answer on Thursday that for Thursday night. They can accept that amendment. You know, that is probably something we could get an answer on Thursday from town council. So
Okay,
I'll submit it this way with our vote. We can make a vote when we do it pending town council's recommendation for the wording.
sounds good.
Yep.
Great.
Thank you, Jane.
Yep. So otherwise, we are still set on our timeline and getting this through. The advisory Saturday all-day meeting is on March 21st.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's late this year.
It's sorry, is what?
That's late this year.
It's about a week late, which is why I was surprised we had to get the wording to the select board already this Thursday. We will be presenting the warrant articles to advisory, and I'm not sure exactly what date. It's going to be at the end of February or first week of March. Once I get that, I will forward it. And if anyone else wants to join with me on it, you're welcome to. I already gave them the QR code and where to look and to watch for our articles and explanations, so that we should be a little bit ahead of that this year.
Can I ask, do we all need to be at that? Or because you
No.
had sent around the thing for the CTPC and that actually looked like it had some interesting seminars. So
Yes. Oh, you mean the all-day one on the Saturday?
the
March
March 20th. Yeah.
March 20th. I know it's unfortunate that that's when the citizens planning training is.
Yeah.
No, you don't all have to be.
It always happens at the same time.
Does it really?
Yeah, because the one year that I went to it, it was exactly that date, and Chris also went, who was the chair at the time, and he actually had to step out and, you know, stay by his phone to be able to answer any questions should there be any questions that arise. But other members of the planning board did cover the different points that were needed to be made.
Yeah. So no, the whole planning board does not need to go to it. It would be nice if at least one person went.
I hope and plan to be at it.
Usually there's a presentation at that meeting.
Right.
So there needs to be someone to present the articles, the warrant articles.
Right. We weren't quite there yet, but otherwise we are on track for where we want to be.
We still have a month and a half to figure out those details.
Yeah. And it looks like it's 7:15, Frank, if you want to open the hearing, and then I'll read through what the hearing was posted and go through that formality.
Okay. Let me do this. I move to open the hearing at 7:15 for the addition amendments of the Sherborne General Bylaw, Chapter 200, Stormwater Management, and the Sherborne Zoning Bylaw, Chapter 240, Section 3.2, Schedule of Use, Chapter 240, Section 3.2, Table of Uses, and Chapter 40, Section 3.3, Living Accommodation in Non-Residential Buildings. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Steph?
Aye.
Rob?
Aye.
Red?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Frank Hookham and I as well.
Okay, so the formality of it is we posted this with the town clerk at the town hall. I've also posted at the post office, and it has been published in the Metro West Daily News on January 26th and February 2nd. And I'm just going to read the notice quickly, just in case we need it for formality. Notice is hereby given pursuant to MGL Chapter 48, Section 5, that the Sherburne Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, February 10th, 2026 at 7 p.m. via Zoom to consider proposed additions and amendments to the Sherburne general bylaws and zoning bylaws. A, add land disturbance provisions to the stormwater management bylaw and include the whole town in area subject to regulations with several different levels of management based on the proposed activities, ranging from no requirements to the current requirements applicable to the disturbance of 1 acre or more. This warrant article would amend the Sherburne General Bylaws, Chapter 200, entitled Stormwater Management, by deleting it in its entirety and replacing it with the complete text entitled Stormwater and Land Disturbance Management. B, amend the Sherburne Zoning Bylaws, Chapter 240, to revise provisions relative to low and moderate income accessory dwelling units / apartments, and to correct clerical errors in the schedule of uses and table of uses. This warrant article would amend Section 240-3.2, Schedule of Uses, 2/A 14/A, delete Section 240-3.2, Schedule of Uses, which is number 27, lower moderate income apartment in its entirety, amend the table of uses 26A and associated footnote, delete sections 240-3.2, table of uses number 27, lower moderate income apartments, amend section 240-3.2, table of uses, notation of OS as, and amend section 240-3.3, living accommodations in non-residence buildings. The complete text of the proposed amendments is on file with the town clerk and is posted on the planning board's webpage at www.sherburnema.org/planning board. All interested parties are encouraged to attend the hearing and or submit written commentary. The meeting agenda will be posted on the town's calendar and with the Zoom link as given. And this by Stephanie Harrison and Frank Hoke, Sherburne Planning co-chairs. So everything has been posted and we're here tonight for the public hearing.
So Heidi, have you received any emails with respect to this?
No written commentary.
I've received none either. Steph, have you received any?
No.
Anybody else on the board received any verbal or written comments on this?
No.
No.
Okay, Heidi, would you like to continue leading us through this?
I am going to turn it over to Steph.
Okay.
There's been a mini working group of Steph, Joyce, and Jane, and with Chris Caney as well helping out. All yours.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is share the warrant article language, because in rereading it right now, in concert with hearing your voice, I realize there's a couple of changes we need to make. I've got my track changes on. Adding an S here was a town council comment on the bylaw, so we want to do that consistently here. And then I think we want to say the permit is retitled to include the and land disturbance as well. So these would be, Heidi, this is not too late for these types of changes, right? Consistency.
Yes, because this is what's going to be turned in tomorrow.
Okay, so in the bylaw, some of these things are defined terms that are capitalized. It's okay if they're not in this warrant article, correct?
I don't know. We can run that by town council, but that can be a correction that's not
Okay.
going to be a substantive change if it's
Okay.
capitalizing a letter.
Perfect. So that's what I caught as you were reading this. I think part of our public hearing today, we're planning to go through this document as well that is referenced. So just for those people who have shown up to the public hearing, the reason that we're keeping the document separate is because we had some hiccups the last time we did a zoning bylaw change. And as this document evolves over time, if we have to, if it's all contained in the warrant and we have to keep reopening the warrant to make the change, this allows us to make changes to the version that's on file without officially amending the warrant itself. And the town vote would still would be clear in terms of what was being voted at town meeting. So we've made this warrant article brief, but we are also going to review this file as part of the hearing today to walk through it. Then we have the miscellaneous zoning bylaw updates. And I'm just clarifying, Heidi, we don't, but like, so my first question is this SS, that's a normal, that's a
It's-
normal denomination for section.
It can be, but I finally found the symbol, so I will be putting in the symbol for that.
Okay. Okay. So the squiggly S
All
with the
the S,
circle.
all the
Okay.
double S's are going to be
Okay.
the symbol.
Thank you. Okay. And then where we say delete the whole schedule of use section in its entirety, at some point we had it in here with a whole strike through, and we don't need to do that. Is that correct?
I talked to Jeremy, said, no, if you're saying deleting an entirety, we do not need to go and show the whole section.
But down here, we do need to show the whole strikeout.
That one is just a line item. So yes, it was just easier to show one from the table.
Okay.
And I have a question. Is the section 240-3.2 change to section 14A, is that on the schedule of uses?
Yes, but the schedule of uses says allow, it has A's all the way across, and it said permissive here, which was a conflict. So we're correcting this to allowed, but it's consistent with how the table of uses currently shows it.
Okay.
Because I think we had to make it allowed because of the Dover protected use. This was something that we did with the miscellaneous changes last year. So we changed it in the table to all A's across, but somehow missed that it still said permissive in the text. So this is just catching up on that one.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Footnote.
Do we think that, back to your comment on that first paragraph, on the first section, where you were talking about where in the definitions, they're capitalized, but here it's not. Shall we just capitalize it now and just be done with it?
Oh, up here.
Mm.
I mean, it's like stormwater discharges, wetland resource areas,
Mm.
stormwater land service management permit. That's it, right? I don't know. Jane's our queen of definitions.
Well, I'm not sure I would change it here because it doesn't, the reason you capitalize it is to
That's
show
right.
that it's a defined term, but in this context, there is
It's not defined.
it's not really a defined term. So
Yeah.
I mean, we can check with council, but I think it's probably okay like this.
Okay. Are there any other comments or questions from anybody on the board? Hearing none, are there any comments or questions from any of the visitors who were not on the planning board? Okay, hearing none, we can move on to the next topic.
Okay. So well, the only thing we didn't get down to is oh, right. No, I know what that is. Okay. So then this would be the warrant language itself. And Heidi, should we pause now and vote this, or should we go to the document?
Why don't let's go to the document because I
Okay.
want to make sure we also discuss the miscellaneous zoning bylaws for everyone in a little more detail and explain why we got rid of the low and moderate income ones. So that everyone gets their questions answered, and then I'd vote that at the end.
Okay. So I'm going to stop my well, can we do that now and then go back to the stormwater?
Sure. Yeah, we can do,
document?
yeah,
Okay, just
Yeah.
because I have to stop and reshare every
yeah.
time
No,
on this platform.
this is going to be a simple article. Do you want me to go through it? Do you want to go
Sure.
through it?
Go for
Okay.
it.
So last year when we were making the changes, we've already discussed 14A that because it's a Dover protected use, the word permissive actually implies that there's a permit, so we had to change it to allowed, and that's what the A. So we had changed the table of use. We missed changing the word on 14A. We're catching it now. And then with multi-dwellings, the next one, 26A, under the table of use regulations, we had them as X's, but it turns out there is permissives in our MBTA, in our EA, so we had to put the double asterisks next to the X. So the double asterisk is the addition for RA, RB, and RC. The double asterisk was already in there, but we also had to include the area 240-4.5, and then we already had 2.56 and 2.57, so that we capture exactly what sections do allow multi-dwellings. And then the only other change in the table of use is we had OS, and which said permissive as otherwise in the 4.5, which is our open space subdivision section. We are just listing that it is the open space residential subdivision. People didn't know what OS meant, so it's further clarification on that term. The other change we're picking up is on 3.3. So we have living accommodations that was allowed for non-residential buildings, but it said it was referring to the low and moderate income apartments. And apartments have now been switched over to accessory dwelling units, ADUs. And last year we set up two different types of ADUs. The by right one that the state was requiring, which is the up to 900 square feet or 50% if your house is 1,800 square feet or less. And then our regular special permit ADU, which goes up to 1,200 square feet. So we had two types of ADUs we were allowing. Turns out that in our bylaw, we had a third one, the low and moderate income apartments, which would be considered an ADU, and that was going to end up being a third classification of ADUs. And even though it said it was a special permit needed, there was question of whether this really meant it was part of the special permit already, or did we have three categories that someone could put three different ADUs on their property? And at the discussions last year, it was allowed to do two, but we definitely weren't going higher than that. So we were removing the low and moderate income apartment / which is now ADUs from the bylaws, because you can make an ADU right now, whether it's special permit or by right ones. You can choose to make them low and moderate income if you would like to do that. And the procedures are already clarified of what's involved to get that type of designation. We found out when someone was looking into it, the designation involves usually having a deed restriction for 30 years on it, and that has not been appealing and no one has used it. So we've decided just to remove that it takes out any guesswork that we are not allowing three ADUs on a property. It's two, the by right or the special permit. And if you want to make it a low moderate income apartment or / ADU out of them, you're free to do so. And there are state regulations that are set up to handle it. So we then had to remove, we found out that it was listed in that other section of the 3.3, and that's why we are now removing the language there that referred back to the low and moderate income apartments as well.
And may I add, for anyone who's not familiar with this issue, the low and moderate income apartments it's sort of a legacy item that was added before we had some of our other zoning tools, such as the two types of ADUs that Heidi talked about, but also the affordable housing bylaw. This was in there as a tool to sort of promote affordable housing as well. And now we have a much more robust affordable housing bylaw. So the need for this kind of stopgap type of ADU is not as strong as when it was first put into the bylaws. So Frank, that's it on this warrant article.
Are there
I don't know if,
any questions on this warrant article by anybody on the board?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't get that 26A. Why? What is this with the double asterisks and the X's and all? Why doesn't it just say permissive? I'm confused.
Because you're not allowed to have multi-dwellings in your 1 acre, 2 acre, your 3 acre residential zone. If you said permissive, it's going to mean anyone could apply for a special permit to do it. And that's not the case. The only way it's allowed in those zones is if you've got an open space residential division that's going in those zones, if it's EA project, or if it was the MBTA zone. Those are the only ones that allow multi-dwellings.
if we change this to a P, Frank, it means that anyone in residential A can get a permit. But it's a really restricted category of who could get a permit for multi-dwellings. And it's restricted to the double asterisk down here, which is these specific bylaws. Open space, EA, and
Okay, that wasn't
MBTA.
the way I was interpreting P. I was interpreting P as you have to get a permit, but you may or may not be able to get the permit depending on what conditions you meet.
I think given the significant restrictions of these bylaws, if we put a P here, I think that's more confusing than saying it's not allowed except in these narrow cases. If we put a P here and then put the double asterisk, it looks like most people should be able to apply for a permit.
Yeah, I think it's clear as written.
Would it help you, Rob, if it said this use is permissive only as provided in sections blah, blah, blah?
Yeah, maybe that makes it more clear what you're trying to say.
Mhm. Does
I
that,
just kind of figured that my interpretation of permit is that you have to apply for a permit, and depending on what conditions are applicable, you may or may not be able to get a permit. It doesn't say anybody can apply for a permit and get it. That would be more like, it's not automatic. But I understand. Yeah, I think it would be more clear. I mean, X basically means it's not permitted in other contexts, right?
that's right. And there's no multi-dwelling permit. So you couldn't, in resident A, go to town hall and say, I'd like to file a multi-dwelling permit. The permissiveness of a multi-dwelling comes in a special permit for open space, or the vehicle for permitting it is either a special permit for an open space subdivision, a special permit for a MBTA community, right? So it's sort of encapsulated through a separate permitting process. There is no general multi-dwelling permit that you would apply for in RA, RB, or RC as a standalone permit.
Mm-hmm.
So you couldn't pull a permit, right? You can only do it through those bylaw vehicles.
Or you could call the asterisk an exception.
Like this.
Well, we've had in the last couple, in the last bylaws, this use is permissive as provided in these other sections. So that's been the wording there for a while. So I was just trying to add in the other section,
Yeah.
not make it this complicated.
I do think that this change helps to clarify it if that's easy to make while we're changing the footnote to show that it's restrictive where it's permissive.
I feel that way as well. Rob, would you feel okay with that?
Yeah, I guess that makes it more clear. Yeah.
Because if you see the double star, asterisk, you're gonna go down to where it says, where the double asterisk is, to read what the double asterisk is about, and it says permissive use only provided, and then you'd have to go back to 240, 4-4.5, 5.6 or 5.7, and then you can read those conditions, yeah? So one way or another, those asterisks are gonna bring you to that, statement.
Where's the single asterisk?
If you go back to the original table, you'll see it. This is just the changes. This is a whole table that spans about, I don't know, a little over a quarter of a page.
Yeah, no, understood.
Any other thoughts on this? X's, no X's, X's or P's? Jim, Brett, Jane? Okay. So Rob, you okay?
I guess so. Yeah, that's, it still seems confusing to me, but if that's the way we've been doing it, that's fine. I'm just thinking, you know, my interpretation of permissive is that there's some kind of permitting process that you have to go through, and there might be 5 different processes for 5 different categories of use, and we don't have separate letters to designate all of them. So we would lump them all as P, but looks like we're lumping some of them as X with asterisks.
Well, Rob,
Okay.
someone explained to me that when you see a permit, it usually means there was a process that has a path forward to how to get to something. In this case, we don't have a path forward in these areas. So I guess that's why I feel the X is better communication than a P, because we don't have a path forward in RA for any other reason.
Okay.
So maybe to reiterate, just restating what you said, Heidi, P would indicate that there is a possible permit in an RA area to have a multi-dwelling, and what we're saying is there is not that unless it's for 240, 4.5, or 5.6, or 5.7. Those are the only possible options. There's no other way of getting that. And that's why having it as an X saying, no, there is no multi-dwelling in this area unless it meets one of those 3 sections. Yeah.
It's like the multi-dwelling is incidental to, it's like an incentive for other types of development, but it's not on its own permittable. I think we need to be able to move on at some point. So,
The time I was just going to say. Rob will have to decide his vote and with the rest of the board on the whole thing here. So
Okay.
let's move on to the next topic.
But do you want to see if there are any comments from the
Rest of the from anybody else? Okay. So we heard from the planning board. Are there any comments from any of the visitors to this hearing? Okay. Hearing none. Move on to the next topic.
okay, so that's the warrant language that's proposed, and I think the idea is to have a planning board vote on this warrant language before the hearing's over. The next item to share. So I'm going to do this a little bit out of order because Jane, is it okay if I put up your definitions first?
Sure.
Okay. Because one of the comments we got as people have been looking through the bylaw, is that we had been planning to leave the definitions intact as they are in the MS4 permit and in the rules and regulations. And I think there was a suggestion that the definitions be incorporated into the bylaw, key definitions be incorporated into the bylaw, where we're using capitalized terms. So this is the list of definitions that will be moved into the bylaw as part of the writing process. Jane, I just wanted to point out I made a couple of little changes in track changes here. So that, remember, we were going to do one kind of connection that covers both illicit and unauthorized discharges. I do prefer to call it unauthorized rather than illicit, just because illicit has the tie to MS4. So if we're making a new term, my preference would be to call it an unauthorized connection. But whether it's called illicit or unauthorized, it would be that connection which allows an illicit or an unauthorized discharge.
Well, then we could, we could change illicit discharge, the definition of illicit discharge, to unauthorized discharge, and then we wouldn't need to have more, we wouldn't need to have multiple definitions.
Well, I think we were trying to stick with the MS4 terms, even though we're defining them separately in this bylaw. I think we're trying to preserve what we can for consistency, right? So have them match the MS4. So if we combine illicit discharge and unauthorized discharge. Oh, we don't have unauthorized discharge in here. Okay. So we need an unauthorized discharge in here because I didn't catch that before. I think I have a definition for it. I think the intention was to keep illicit discharge the same as it is defined in the MS4.
I mean, we could do that, but I think the reason that we wanted to do that was that we thought we needed to rely on a cross-reference to the MS4. And since we're not doing that anymore, we can do whatever we want in our own definitions. You see what I mean?
We could, but I think Sean had expressed some concern about having one term that means one thing in the MS4 and another thing in the town bylaw. And then when he writes a report, which definition is he taking on? So if we have specific terms that are used in the MS4 to try to keep them the same way in our bylaw, to the extent that that makes sense.
Okay.
Now, terms like owner in the MS4 refers to the owner of the storm drain system. If we say owner, we probably mean property owner in the bylaw, right? So we just have to be explicit around terms that could be confusing. But I think that we're trying to keep the terms, certain key terms, the same between the MS4 and the bylaw so that Sean doesn't get tripped up trying to define which definition he's taking of a term, right? So that's why we had created unauthorized discharge. Did you change illicit discharge to this one's still? Oh yeah, you did. Okay, so I'll have to separate these a little bit. So illicit discharge, we can revert back to MS4, and then unauthorized, we can pull out the groundwater, the everything else.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me just make a note, because if I don't write it down, it will revert to MS4 and translate other areas to unauthorized. Okay, and so then that explains why under illicit connection, there weren't two terms here, but I think we should probably need the two terms here, but we can fix this later. I think we went with authorizing agent instead of PGA. At least that's how it is in the regs, it was permit granting authority, and I think in our working group we changed it to authorizing agent, if I remember correctly. Anyway, we can pick one, but right now it all says authorizing agent throughout the bylaw, so I just changed the definition for now because that was easier.
Yeah, but there's no cross-reference. There's no appropriate cross-reference if we use this term. Because 6.1 talks about the permit granting authority.
6.1 of what?
Of the regs.
Of the regs. Well, we're going to update the regs, right?
We
I
can.
think the issue was that the regs talked about the permit granting authority, and the bylaw talked about the authorizing agent. So we were going to consolidate those anyway.
But why do we need to say authorizing agent in the bylaw? Because there's going to be a lot of changes needed in the regs if we're going to change all the permit granting authority references to authorizing agent in the regs.
Okay, I mean, we can keep it as permit granting authority in the bylaw then. That's fine.
I mean,
Someone
if there's a reason,
someone had suggested authorizing agent was better than PGA, but I don't remember who. Was that by chance Joyce?
Thought that was Joyce.
I don't
I think we saw,
recall.
Okay. Okay, well, if you don't know off the top of your head a compelling reason to keep it as authorizing agent, then we can revert it back to PGA. So let me reject the change and let me add a note here that in the bylaw.
Oh, wait. Well, did she say that for the like the lowest level, don't you not need a permit? So does it? So then does that make it not clear who's in
Oh,
charge?
because there's no permit required for,
Oh, because
Is that why you said I've
yeah, that
vaguely
maybe
remember you
that
saying
makes more sense now.
that does make sense, Brett. Good memory. Um,
but a permit granting authority could still decide there's no permit needed. It's still, they're the ones that do a review and they just decide, no, you don't need it.
Fair enough.
okay. So Jane, I hear you. Somewhere we need to change it everywhere. It's probably easier to do that in the bylaw than it is to do that in the regs.
it shows up a lot in the regs. That's why, I mean, it would just mean a lot of changes to the regs. We can do it. It's just more work and more changes.
Yep. Okay. Oops, I put this in the wrong place. Stormwater and land disturbance management permit. I'm not a big fan of that sequence of words, but I'm going with it because it's been okay. And then also stormwater management plan and wetland resource area. Okay.
Well, can I just ask you a question about that particular definition though? Because isn't it the case that the land disturbance analysis determines what kind of a permit you need, right? How much land you're disturbing, but the stormwater management permit doesn't really it doesn't really have anything to do with land disturbance per se. You determine what kind of a permit you need, and then you get it, right?
What,
I mean,
what do you mean?
it isn't the final permit that's issued really just a stormwater management permit? I mean, the permit doesn't determine anything with respect to land disturbance. It's how much land you're disturbing that determines the kind of permit you need.
So you might also be doing erosion control for land disturbance and not necessarily, I mean, it's all the same,
Mhm.
it's all tied together. Um, it's not, land disturbance, it can be the same thing as, tearing down the house. It's not just land disturbance, and you want to be able to control that too, which is why the definition is expanded or the statement's expanded.
I mean, why don't we leave this like this for now? And then when we have our discussion on Thursday, um, if that illuminates anything and causes us to want to make a change one way or another, we can do that.
Okay. There it is here. Okay. Uh, trying to single parent from a public meeting. All right. So we're going to leave this for now. and also the language, we put the same term into the permit title in the warrant language so that at least they talk to each other at this point. And then let's just keep this in mind so that if we decide we want to change it before the hearing's over, we can do that. Because we're going to dive into the particulars of these things. Okay, so I'm going to stop my share on the definitions document. Oh, I did want to show, because I feel like there was some discussion about what is impervious surface. It is defined. This came from the MS4 permit. Any surface that prevents or significantly impedes the infiltration of water into the underlying soil. Roads, driveways, parking areas, to other areas created using non-porous materials, buildings, rooftop structures, artificial turf, and compacted gravel or soil. So it does cover less pervious surfaces rather than just pavement. That was a discussion at some point of what is impervious surface.
Soil is impervious?
Sorry?
Soil is impervious?
Compacted.
Okay.
So if you take native soil,
The gravel doesn't necessarily mean that the compacted goes also with the soil.
well,
but-
because it says and compacted gravel or soil.
Mhm.
I mean, we can put, if it makes, we could do that if that feels better. Is that
That helps me, yeah.
okay? Then I would take the and out of here, put a comma here. I wonder why okay, there's a semicolon here. Anyway, the point is made. I don't want to do semicolons and commas today. See if there were any other.
Colon, actually, but
Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing on the definitions, and I'm going to just hit save, and then I'm going to open up the Stormwater and Land Disturbance Management Bylaw. This is the working copy that includes all of the little things that we've been tracking along the way. So it's busier than it needs to be, but it's kind of like my my base copy, so I don't want to make changes anywhere else. Whoops, I thought I was sharing it. There we go. So it's probably more than we need to see for the purpose of this hearing, but I didn't want to make a different version just for this hearing and then have to track what I was changing in that version and put it back in the working version. So apologies. And then I want to over here. Okay, so this is done in warrant article format where we do this manual strike through and the red changes for additions and deletions. It's not a track changes document. The broad goals of this bylaw for those who have not been engaged to date is the original bylaw was specific to the municipal separate storm sewer system, or the MS4. And that is a specific area, geographic area of Sherborne that's mostly the downtown area. It's a pretty small geographic area of Sherborne where there is a storm drain system that discharges into waterways, the Charles River and the Neponset River. Is it Neponset? Anyway, the two watersheds that we are a part of. And the purpose of this warrant article would be to expand stormwater regulations and how they connect to land disturbance, how stormwater management connects to land disturbance on a town-wide basis. So we're not having discharges into water bodies, the MS4, but also other town storm drainage systems. The town has other pipes that discharge to other wetlands that are not part of the MS4. And also to minimize the probability, or to be able to have an enforceable prohibition on sending stormwater into the public streets and the right of way and things like that. So it's basically to regulate stormwater beyond just the MS4, which is what the current bylaw does. So in doing so, not only did we expand the purpose, we expanded the things that are allowed and not allowed. We proposed triggers for land disturbance that trigger different levels of permitting. That's a new piece of it, and then bolstered the enforcement language on how it could be enforced. So those were kind of the main changes in the bylaw. So I can walk through this. Actually, Heidi, you had your side-by-side view, right? At some point. Should I utilize that, or is that not complete yet? You're muted.
So I actually think this is good
Okay.
to go through because some of it's going to be a little different.
Okay. All right. Okay. So,
By the way, that was a good introduction on this topic as well.
okay, thanks. So in the purpose, again, we're just expanding, and we're also, a lot of the changes are just changing from general terms to defined terms. So you'll see a lot of places where we're striking through a word and just adding the word with a capital letter. And that's just to really point back to the definitions that we were just referring to, so that there's no question about what is groundwater. Is groundwater rain, is, like it's defined. So a lot of this is that. And then here's where we say control the flow of stormwater and runoff, not only into the MS4, but also other drainage systems, wetland resource areas, public streets, and town right of way. There's not a lot of change to the purpose otherwise. So definitions, this section is what we're going to replace with that whole list of terms that I just shared on the other screen. So we're not going to be, this is a change to come. And I was hoping that we would have a clean version for the public hearing, but we don't. I haven't had a chance to put all of this together yet in a very short timeline. So we're just describing the changes to be made in some cases. So there is this term illicit discharge, which refers to the MS4. And we also created a term of unauthorized discharge because illicit discharge was so restrictive. So unauthorized discharges, which will be defined, is all the other things: public streets, right away, wetland resource areas, etc. So it's just another type of discharge that is now prohibited in this bylaw. Again, expanding some of this beyond the MS4 into all these other systems. And we added swimming pool discharges here. We're working on the terminology here. It includes hot tubs and soaking tubs and things like that. Because we removed the mention of swimming pool discharges down here. This is no longer needed because this was street discharges, and we're making that consistent throughout the whole bylaw. So we took away all of C, but we wanted swimming pool to show up somewhere, so we moved it up here. This is all terminology. Okay, so here is kind of the heart of this bylaw. Is this will now say stormwater and land disturbance. Oh, I can't change it here because I don't have my magic pen color on. So I'm just going to leave it. This is on my to-do list, is to make this stormwater management, land disturbance as one category. But basically this says that this is where we define the new thresholds of land disturbance that will trigger different levels of stormwater permitting. Now, most importantly, the old language pointed to 1 acre of 1 acre or more of disturbance or alteration of land. That major threshold we are not changing. We're just changing. So the major permit still ties to 1 acre or greater of land disturbance. But we also added a condition of 20,000 square feet of additional impervious surface, or new construction of a standalone or detached dwelling unit, or a full reconstruction home, which we're still defining. This is not a real term yet, but it's going to be some description of modifying a portion of the foundation of your home so that you're, disturbing land on an existing home. And so these are the various triggers that would require a stormwater management plan that meets the state requirements for stormwater management. It's a robust stormwater ways to manage stormwater during construction to make sure that you're not having eroded soils from where you've disturbed the land running off into roads and into farm pond, for example. So that major permit category still looks a lot like what it did before, except we put a couple of extra triggers in there. We created a new minor permit category, which is a smaller land disturbance, 20,000 square feet or greater. So like a little under half an acre. Or 10,000 square feet of impervious surface, whereas this one's 20,000 square feet of impervious surface. And this just requires that if you're creating a lot of impervious surface or disturbing a lot of land, that you have a stormwater recharge system that can infiltrate 1 inch of rainfall. So you're basically collecting the water from impervious surfaces and recharging it instead of letting it run off onto the property. So it's just a very sort of like just a streamlined single intention would be that would be the minimum of a minor permit, the minimum requirement of a minor permit. The no permit category would be determined through Concom's existing permitting processes. We're actually going to change this language a little bit so that it says Conservation Commission's existing permit review processes as defined in the rules and in the Conservation Commission rules and regs. We don't want to tie it to one particular item, but the Conservation Commission could identify that there's no permit needed through their existing permitting channels. So that's in a nutshell for construction and erosion control. These are the permitting thresholds for the proposed bylaw.
I think we discussed this before, but I guess we must have decided you don't need to put the upper limit on the minor permit because.
Right, because the lower limit is here, the lower limit on the next category.
Yeah. And it's got, I guess it's slightly different. I was looking at a slightly different version on my computer because it's bigger print there. Okay, I mean, if you just read it, it implies that a land disturbance of 1.5 acres would require a minor permit and a major permit, where obviously the intention is not that. The intention is that you'd only require a major permit.
Yes. That's true. That it would only require a major permit. But Joyce, if I'm not mistaken, you will be infiltrating 1 inch of rainfall if you're down in this category.
You'll be doing more. You'll be capturing whatever the increase is for the project.
So it's more stringent down here.
Yes. So I don't think you would think you had to get 2 permits because you wouldn't apply for the 20,000 if you had 40 an acre of disturbance. It wouldn't apply to you. So you would have to go to the next permit up. You wouldn't get 2 permits.
Does that make sense, Rob?
It makes sense. That's just not what it says. I'm
Oh,
just saying, you know, if you read it, it, maybe I should stop beating on this because I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that if you read the whole thing, that if a major permit is required, it supersedes the minor permit. But
I think a lot of times policy is written this way because if you said here 20,000 square feet or greater up to but less than 1 acre, right? If you put that into the language here, and then someone comes along later and says, we should make that a 1.5 acre threshold. And so they change it here to 1.5 acre, then you've created a gap. Like the more you have things in multiple places that are the same, and then if you want to make a change, you have to change it in 2 places to make the regulation work,
mhm.
then that is a possibility to create conflict. So I think a lot of times, you know, policy is written intentionally without duplicating information where we can do that.
Yeah, but I don't know. I guess it's not important. You could put in something like minor permit is required for land disturbance that does not meet the major permit threshold, but is in excess of 20,000 or, you know, whatever. You could write it so that it is absolutely precise, but I guess if the lawyers here aren't worried about it, then I'm not going to worry about it either.
Okay. They haven't been, although they did, we are going to be doing some slight changes. So for example, under minor permit, one of the changes that I haven't implemented yet, right? So these thresholds, it's now going to say, will necessitate a stormwater and land disturbance minor permit to be obtained from the authorizing agent, or now PGA. An application for a minor permit must include, at a minimum, design of a stormwater recharge system with the capacity to infiltrate, blah, blah, blah. So we're basically saying, like, right now, the way it reads is it says that if you meet these thresholds, you require at a minimum a recharge system, but we don't say that you require a minor permit, right? So there's a little bit of language that the attorneys did pick up on to clarify that a little bit, to say that, like, if you meet these thresholds, then you have to apply for a minor permit. And the minor permit the application would have to include this stormwater recharge system as part of the application. So I think that's a good clarification that we'll be adding in to both the minor permit and the major permit category, just some wording to make it a little more clear that if you hit this threshold, you submit an application and your application has to include these components. So that will be done. Any other discussion or questions on the thresholds before we move on?
Do we state the design requirements of the recharge system? Don't recall that they be sealed by a professional engineer.
In the regulations.
Yeah, I was going to say that would go in the regs.
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
Mhm.
And Steph, after we go through this, maybe then we can bring up that presentation that Joyce has that shows some of these categories so the audience can see some of the
Okay.
examples after we're done with this part.
Okay. So these permit thresholds sort of replace this old language on what triggers a permit and what a stormwater management plan is. So that's why those are crossed out. Now, there are exemptions in our existing bylaw. One of them was exempting driveway, expansion of an existing paved driveway or impervious area of a previously existing unpaved driveway. That was an exemption, and we are not considering that an exemption in the new bylaw. We're not exempting driveways. We also are not exempting other items that are sometimes incidental to residential uses. Decks, patios, walkways, like all of that is still land disturbance. And so if you're doing a garden or a patio on its own and it doesn't meet the thresholds, then it doesn't meet the thresholds. But if you're doing a new single family dwelling and you're adding a patio to it, that would be impervious area that would need to be captured. So we're not exempting patios from the calculations. Same with septic systems, with excavation, land disturbance related to septic systems. And this Concom part is already covered in the permit granting authority and the Concom regulations, so we didn't need an exemption for it specifically.
But
So
most
these
of
items,
these kind of things would actually fall in the no permit category anyway.
on their own, correct.
Yeah.
But what we don't want is someone who's disturbing a little less than an acre, and if you count the patio in it, it's a little more than an acre. We don't want them to not count the patio, right?
If it's all part of this, the same
Land
plan,
disturbance,
same permit.
exactly. Yep.
But if you put in a patio a year later after you've built the house,
right,
that would typically fall way under the threshold.
We've talked about this as a planning board, if there's some time horizon for cumulative projects. The bottom line is that we're not exempting patios from the land disturbance regulations, the rules for land disturbance. But the question about timeline and multiple projects versus single project, we've talked about that and haven't come up with a concrete path to be able to include that, because the reality is that if you're building it all together and it shows up on the plan, it needs to be counted. If you decide later to do it, that's not that different from a homeowner who already has an existing home deciding to do a patio, and it's kind of hard to split those hairs at this point. If we think of a really creative way to do it, we could do it in a subsequent town meeting. So the administration section is where we're making some changes. So this is now going to be per the definitions. The permit granting authority is going to be per the definitions. And this is a lot of terminology. This will all be changed to permit granting authority. Enforcement is where we're looking at a number of changes. So first of all, enforcement was previously set up into two categories: land disturbance and then illicit discharges. We're actually going to do away with those categories because it's enforcement of everything in the bylaw. We don't have to categorize it, right? So A is going to go away, B is going to go away, and B1 is going to go away because the enforcing agent is going to be the DPW director for both, for everything. So it doesn't need to be repeated for illicit discharges. And then everything else. So structurally, we're making that change.
So it was something like what it reads everywhere else, the land disturbance and whatever the other category was.
Stormwater management.
Yeah.
Well, the whole bylaw is land disturbance and stormwater management. So if we were going to say land disturbance and stormwater management, it's not a useful heading, right? So we were going to just outdent these. So this is going to become A, B, C. We don't need a heading to group these things. It's just part of enforcement for the bylaw. Okay. Here's a little bit of language that was added around enforcement. A written order for compliance where a violation is identified. Um, penalties. So we talked about moving the fines into the regulations, but town council has informed us that the fine amounts actually have to be in the bylaw. So we're going to leave these in. And then here's a lot more language on enforcement that gives the bylaw a little bit more teeth. This was all taken from other towns' bylaws on enforcements. So there's an appeals process to the planning board from the enforcing agent. If you disagree with an enforcing agent's decision, you can appeal to the planning board. If the violator doesn't do anything, town can take action and recover costs for that action. This is all related to enforcements. So G, H, and I were added based on other language in other towns' bylaws. And that's it. So this is the nature of the changes being suggested for the bylaw. I'm just trying to see if there's, I don't think there's anything else on my to-do list for the bylaw that has bearing on what we just covered.
So there were some comments as Steph went through this. Are there any other comments on any part or this as a whole from anybody on the planning board? Rob, are you good so far?
Yeah.
Brad?
Sorry, I was taking minutes. Did you ask if I had questions or were you asking for my vote?
Yeah, questions and comments?
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Jim?
I don't think so right now.
Jane?
Nope, I'm good. Thank you, Frank.
Steph, I think you did a good job. Heidi, do you have any other comments?
Yeah, what I was gonna suggest is that we incorporate the comments discussed tonight into a document. Continue the hearing until right after the next one. We have a hearing scheduled for the 24th anyway. That gives me time to post this document that was discussed tonight so that people have a time to look at it and then can come back on the 24th for a final vote. So I would suggest not voting on the language of the document yet, but get a copy out that everyone can read to see what tonight's changes are going to look like.
Steph, Jane, how do you feel about that?
That works really well for me.
Okay.
I'm not prepared to vote on the language tonight because I don't feel like it's, well,
Yeah.
Heidi, you're saying not to vote on this stormwater management bylaw, but the warrant article we could still vote on tonight.
Correct, because
Okay.
that's just referring to a document. And what I'd like to do is get the
Yep.
changes discussed tonight, that's the group's approving, get that onto the town file with the town clerk, put it online so that people have, and the town has time to review it before continue this on the 24th for a final version vote.
Right, because that gives us town council also time to look at this.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that makes all other sense. Are there any comments or questions from Brian Kessler, Tom Trainer? Or Joyce Hastings for that matter? Okay. Hearing none, so I guess we're ready to do the vote then? To continue this hearing and to vote on the warrant language?
Do you want to vote first the language while we're still in the public hearing?
Sure. So the vote on the language is the language for what we were just looking at for the bylaw? or the language
The
for the
warrant language.
warrant language?
We don't have final bylaw language yet.
Right, right. That's
So this is the warrant language.
well,
I hope I'm
what I was thinking that Heidi meant was that we continued the hearing for the warrant, but we should vote this while we're still in the hearing before moving to continue. This is what both you and Heidi are saying, right?
I think so.
Yeah, and in your motion to allow the vote to change stormwater and land disturbance management as recommended by town council if needed.
Right, so help me with the motion, but
Ah,
I move that we accept the warrant article for storm, water, and land disturbance management as agreed upon at the hearing on February the 10th. Do I have a second?
sorry, I just Heidi, do we need to take is accept the right action to take here? Or do we need to approve something?
Approve as presented, but again with
Okay, whatever I said with that clarification.
And then Heidi, I think you had also suggested
with having town council
contingent
approve contingent upon the words and change the language of the title if needed.
I'm good with you adding that to my motion.
good luck, Brett.
Not to confuse things, but it's not just the title because it comes up again in
Yeah.
the body of the
So it's the
language.
terminology.
What if I restate, what if I start a motion again? I move that we accept the warrant articles as provided this day, February the 10th, at the hearing, both the storm, water, and land management, as well as miscellaneous zoning bylaw updates. With the contingency of terminology provided by town council when we receive that. Or when received.
Okay, my only friendly modification would be to say approve instead of accept.
Fine.
So Frank moves to approve the warrant articles as discussed today, the two warrant articles as discussed today, with contingency of modified terminology as recommended by town council.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Thank you. Steph,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye, it's a little unclear at first, but thanks for clarifying that stuff.
Brett,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
and Frank will come and I as well. Excellent. Okay, now I move that we continue this hearing to February the 24th. Do we put this as a separate time from the others so that we should do this at 7:15 or 7:30?
I would probably say 7:45.
Okay,
I'm trying to think if we have the one already for 7:15.
no, we have one for 7. Because all we have is the hearing, so the first thing we do is go into the hearing.
Oh, that's right. So let's go with 7:30 then.
Okay, 7:30. So we're continuing this hearing to February the 24th at 7:30.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, Jim?
Aye,
Brett,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
Steph?
Aye.
And I, Frank, will come in as well. Okay, thank you, everybody. All right, next item on the agenda, updates on zoning bylaw review.
We've done that one,
Annual town meeting timeline and
done
warrant.
that one.
Annual town report, have not done that one.
No. So every year, we have to submit an annual town report. I wrote up a draft, and I was just gonna have people look at it, and you can have input.
Did
And
I,
it is submitted under Steph and Frank's name.
did I send you my, I only had a couple minor,
No, I didn't get any comments.
I did do some edits, but,
So maybe Steph can do them live now.
I can find mine. I think. Is it the 25 annual report or should it be the 26 annual report because it's at the 2026?
No, it's the annual, it's the 25, it's the annual year. That's put in.
For my edits. I can share my screen.
Or if you want to just, if you share, then Steph doesn't get the edits. Can you just like read or?
Right. Okay, I'll give that a try. Let's see. All right, so it starts with in the first sentence, the planning board, and I wrote continued work started prior to 2025 on several mandated bylaw changes through the beginning of 2025 that passed in May 2025 at the annual town meeting. So the changes, the additions that I put in there was continued work started prior to 2025, and then take the word worked out. And then on several mandated bylaw changes, and then I added through the beginning of 2025. And
Should we
then,
say state mandated?
sure,
On several state mandated bylaw changes.
through the beginning of 2025.
What was through the beginning of 2025?
That was the work that we continued through the beginning of 2025 up until May.
Okay.
Yeah, May 2025. So that's I put that in there as well for May 2025 annual town meeting.
Okay.
And then here's the list of what it is that we did is the rest of the paragraph.
Yeah, I had a comment on one of
I
these.
think it's the April 2025 annual town meeting.
Yeah,
Okay, that's
that
true.
sounds about
At the end
right.
of April. It's the election that's in May.
This was a word. Special permit ADU and what was it called? It wasn't called by right. It was called
Protected use.
protected use. Right? Isn't that the official term? Okay.
Just one other small suggestion. Do you want to say in that second sentence to be in compliance with state law?
Yeah. This sounds so passive, Heidi. I feel like we should say like earned or like uh
Sweated blood and tears.
yeah. Or yeah. I don't know. Okay. It's fine. It's factual. And this pertains just to the MBTA multifamily, right?
Yes, that was just,
What if you say this process, I'm sorry, also involves securing approvals from the,
Yeah, that sounds good.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that right in the middle of your sentence.
That's okay. I just wanted to say that like this is the whole list of what we did, but this paragraph pertains only to the MBTA bylaw, right?
Yeah, and the next paragraph is the ADU bylaw.
Yes. Securing does sound more active, but I like that.
I almost feel like we should state Sherburne is one of the towns in compliance with the MBTA Communities Act. There's many that aren't.
Does that do it, Jim, or did you want to tweak that at all?
Well, I just want to emphasize
One of the
that
few.
one of the I wouldn't say one of the few, but Sherburne is one of the towns in compliance. Yeah. There's what, six or so that are not?
I think it's 14. I think
Oh, is it that
100
many?
177 complied, and I think 14 are not in compliance.
Hmm.
Oh, there were like 320 communities in Massachusetts.
Are we on the next paragraph yet?
She's
Oh,
working.
I mean the ADU paragraph.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Finish that, but if you want to make comments on that, go ahead.
Um, the is it, do we want to write it in terms of the planning board presented the options? Or do we want to
Recommended
just say um
the
that
buy.
this is what we have? Do you know what I mean?
It's like the town voted for the planning board's
Yeah,
recommendation.
like something more definitive.
Doesn't that come in the next sentence?
Recommendation to allow
Yeah.
two types of ADUs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's not just a recommend, it's not just out there, it's done.
Yes, you're right. It's not just an option anymore. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Here you say the funds, but this should say like funding was approved for. Town approved funding.
I just said that in the sentence before, to leading the town to approve funds for zoning bylaw.
Oh, you
review.
did. Yep, I missed that, sorry.
That's okay.
Funds will
Do
go
we need
toward.
current terms? It's a little confusing. Can we just say review the bylaws for inconsistencies and suggest updates?
I like that.
And then we can just say and update the map. So here we just said
Yeah.
consultant, hire a consultant, and then we're saying hire a consultant again, right?
Well, there are two different consultants, so two different products. So I just, it's, you can take it out. It's fine.
Towards consultants to review the bylaws for
Yeah.
inconsistencies and suggest updates, as well as update.
Well, since consultants is plural now, you could just say suggest updates and update the maps.
Yeah, that's what I was going for.
And or as well as.
Update the maps. For inconsistencies. Suggest updates and update the maps. I think that works. Should we say to, as recommended by the state, to have an enforceable bylaw or something like that?
Or maybe say the planning board created regulations for stormwater management.
And land.
I don't think, I think
and land disturbance.
Yeah.
No, we haven't done that yet. We haven't done that part yet. You don't like this part, Jane? This change?
Yeah. Do we need to say it? Can we just say that we created regulations for stormwater management? Do we really need to say anything more?
I was going to say the same thing. Just strike that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we say for 2026?
Yeah, because we started in 2025, so we've been doing that work.
I think it's totally fine how it is, but since you're saying that you're updating something that I think in the previous paragraph, didn't we just say it was created? Should we say like to like give the reason that we've given and everything else about why we the purpose?
Sure. Well, this is the regs that was created, and here we're talking about updating the bylaw.
Right.
And regs. Okay.
So I just thought update the stormwater bylaw to cover more. I don't, maybe we don't have, I mean, it's actually, honestly, it's totally fine. I mean, it's true. That's what we're doing. It's just, I thought since we already actually have a stormwater management bylaw, but we're
Mhm.
expanding it to cover land disturbance and to cover, more than just the MS4 system. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe that's not important. I don't know if anybody cares about it at that detail.
It's just hard to say it succinctly.
If we say it enough times, maybe it'll sink into people.
Could you say plans are or plans for 22 are to update and expand the stormwater bylaw and regulations?
There you go. Just leave it at that.
Okay.
Did we indicate up somewhere above, but the first time we used ATM, that ATM was annual town meeting?
Yep.
Yep, okay. You missed a paragraph before that as well. I don't know if you noticed that.
Sorry?
There's a little bit before, right there.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Is it Odessa Carvana now, or is it still just straight Odessa?
It may be Odessa Carvana, but we had issued the special permit just as Odessa.
What about the ANR regulations? Do we need that in here?
Oh, yeah.
So where we said we created regulations for stormwater management and
Yeah.
updated the approval not required.
Set the forms consistent with the regulations.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I would, now this sentence feels a little out of place, but I'm going to leave it for now. The other thing I would put into this laundry list is providing comment on 40B. Is that
Yeah, we
something that,
did that. Yep.
like the whole EIR, DEIR thing, or is there something that we can say about land development and planned projects?
There was a Meadowbrook Commons
Letter.
proposal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And 41 North Main.
Yeah, I just don't remember all the exact timeline, but the planning board has continued to provide sort of review and comment on is it just 40Bs or planned developments, things like that.
Yeah, because Meadowbrook is not a 40B.
You're right.
But 41 is, and so is Washington Street. We reviewed that plan and provided comments.
Planning business include review and comment letters for proposed developments.
Yeah, that's good.
What about the obelisk? We had some discussions on that.
The Rotary.
Yeah. That's right. There was
Well, the Rotary's before 2025, but the
we reviewed the materials though for the. I'm trying to think
I
back.
don't know if that crossed into 25.
Okay.
It might have been right towards the end of 24.
well, it was the summer of 24 when the roundabout opened, because it got finished before school started.
Oh, that's right. You're right.
So it
No,
didn't.
wait. Was that 24 or was that in 2025 before school started?
I think the roundabout was 25.
I feel like it was recent.
Opened, yeah. He tried to open it before school started, right?
Yep. That I know for a fact, and he did.
Yeah. So I think that just opened not that long ago.
I've only been using it 9 months. I feel like
Yeah, it seems like it does seem like longer.
Well, how about can somebody go back to the minutes and check that? Um, I was going to say something else to add. Now I lost my thought.
We did the ribbon cutting in 2024.
Oh,
Wow, was that long ago?
That was my recollection.
August 2024.
Milburn Farm, was that 26 or was that 25? It's right on the edge.
that was
Millborn,
just a one-off
yeah,
site plan though, right?
right. I think I just clumped that under scenic roads and well, it
We
was
also-
something different. It was the
The parking
parking.
lot, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we could say site plan reviews or something
Site
like
plan,
that
yeah.
if we wanted to.
Yeah.
What about the tree hearing?
Yeah, that's tree removals, right? That can be lumped
Oh,
in.
yeah, I didn't see it, sorry. Yeah.
You might just want to say parking lot review because it was not a formal site plan since it was a protected use.
Yeah, we could. I mean, I don't know that we need to put everything that we,
Yeah, exactly. We're trying to do categories here.
yeah.
And we also did a stone wall review at one point. I think it was also 2025.
Yeah, we could say scenic road hearings for tree removal and stone wall. Or I don't know. It doesn't, again, I just feel like,
Road hearings, period. Just leave it at that.
yeah, that's fine. Scenic road hearings.
Was there discussion on battery energy storage systems? I think
We
that-
didn't do a,
presentation on it.
yeah, but we didn't take action on it. We didn't do a bylaw or anything like that yet. So I don't, okay. Am I missing anything from this list?
Yeah, it was pretty good. You should be proud of that list. Rob, you proud of that list?
Absolutely.
Jim,
certainly.
Brett,
I was only here half the year, but looks good to me.
Steph, you happy with that list?
Aye.
Me too. I couldn't be happier. I think that's a lot of work.
The 3A and the ADUs were huge.
Ugh.
And the MBTA overlay was also pretty huge.
The 3A, yep.
Oh,
Okay. Stop my share. I'll do a save as.
I don't know that we need to vote on this. We just give it to Heidi and
Heidi, do you want to vote?
When in doubt, vote.
Yeah.
I move that we accept the what do we call it? The
Annual report.
annual report as revised in our meeting. Second.
Second.
So move the second and all those in favor, Brett?
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
Steph,
Aye.
I think from an aye as well. Okay. Do we have reports on meetings with other boards or entities? I just want to make one comment, and it's a kind of a question and comment at the same time. This is from the Energy and Sustainability Committee, and we obviously work on trying to improve the climate and the environment, lower greenhouse gases, and so on in our community, trying to make our community more energy sustainable. And with that said, I propose that we get a little bit more knowledgeable on the aspects of for a planning board for looking at thinking about bylaws and the future direction of our town as we write the revised master plan, is looking and considering those topics. So with that said, one of my parting gifts that I want to provide all of you as I depart is a book. It's not a very long book. It doesn't take very long to read, but it's a very well written book on that topic. So the question would be, would you like that copy as a hard copy book, or would you like it as an electronic book, or would you want it as an audio book? But I do want to give that to you as a present. I think it's a really good read, and not only will it help for planning board ideas, but also some things that you may want to consider for your own living conditions and future for yourselves and for your children and your children's children.
That's interesting.
Okay, so I'm happy to buy a book for each member. I was going to do that for Heidi and for Jane as well. So for each of us on the board, I've read it and it's been kind of inspiring to me. And being on the planning board has had me thinking about my aspects not only as a citizen in Sherburne but also as a planning board member, which is kind of why I would like to do this. Kind of give you some thoughts about the importance of solar energy and battery backup and wind turbines and so on, and trees and development and it's really quite thought-provoking.
Well, Frank, would you want to get a hard copy book that I can keep in the office too, so that people can share it, or for other people who might be interested?
Sure, I'd be happy to do that. So
Okay.
I also would like to get one for each of you that are on the
Yeah.
board. So that it'll be your copy and you can mark it up and highlight things as you see fit, or throw it in the garbage can, or give it to Heidi and add it to the library. Whatever you want to do with it. Usually when I give books that I think are really good reads, I usually say, if you don't like it, give it back, and if you love it, then pass it forward. But in this case, I think if you don't like it, you can always pass it to Heidi's library.
Well, it's generous
That's
of you,
very kind
Frank.
of you, Frank. Thank you.
Yeah, that's nice.
Okay, so hard copies for everybody then, is that what I'm hearing? You could email me if you prefer something else other than a hard copy, and then I'll get them on order. All right, are there any other reports from other boards or entities? Hearing none, do we have a town plan report?
Sure. So it's only a week since our last meeting, but I've actually had a couple of people looking into A&Rs of things they can do with their land. And so I have someone coming in tomorrow that wants to talk about doing a 4.4 lot. So that would be a special permit that we'd be looking at to do. And then I had another one email of they have a property and could they maybe put in a street. They don't have the street frontage, but they thought maybe they could put a street in to look at the lots. I've taken a quick look at the lot and I just don't see how it's going to work. But I've told them they should hire an engineer and they could come back to us and see what they come up with. So
Heidi,
people are
do you
really
mean
trying
like a
to
subdivision?
almost, but I
put in
think
a
it would
street?
have to be to put in a street, it would have to be an open space subdivision, and they because the lot minimum is they're in the 2 acre zone and they've got 5 acres. So I think if they did the open space, they could get smaller lots, but I don't think they realize that you need 60% then of open space land, and I think it's going to be very hard for them to put more than the single house that they have on their land right now.
Hmm.
But I don't want to tell them that. I just figured they, maybe the engineer can come up with some creative way. Could they do a common driveway or something else with it? Common driveway, you still need street frontage. They're not going to have that. Maybe, and they could possibly do a 4.4 lot. Actually, no, they can't. They need 6 acres for a 4.4 lot. So I think it's going to be very tough to do anything more than the single family home on this one piece of property. But it's people are trying to look to see what they can do. I think they're all feeling the penny pinching in town and tightening belts. Report on our budget today at our department head meeting is they've cut. We had been about 700,000 apart from what was needed to before an override would have to be kicked in. They've got it down maybe now towards like 176,000. So they're still asking all the town budgets to squeeze, try to come up with more costs. We just have a budget that doesn't really allow for many cuts. So that's about it. We'll wait and see with the budget and hopefully they'll come up with it and we avoid an override this year.
Yeah, it'll be good. All right. Are there any other comments, thoughts? So our next meeting is the 24th.
24th.
It's a hearing. We're having a couple of hearings. As far as I understand, from our last meeting, we could all attend. I thought maybe Rob was a question mark at that time. Am I right? Or
For the 24th?
yeah,
No, I'm fine,
okay,
as far as I know.
okay, great. So then we're all good for February the 24th.
And can you remind me the second hearing? I know there's one on the warrant article,
Common
but
driveway.
common driveway, that was what I thought. Okay.
I mean, do we want to be looking into some of Brian Moore's questions or points that he had brought up at the last hearing? He asserted that we should be looking at trying to remember exactly how he put it, but there's some things that we should be looking closer at, I think, and that's what he asked us to do. So I don't know if we
He
wanted to
asked for
discuss
more
that.
precedents, looking for more. I know, Heidi, you said you already did look.
And
But-
I did do some more research. And
Okay.
I'll put this under the town planner report now so that it's covered.
Sure.
So it's not a topic on our agenda. But as for a town planner report, I did look into when the common driveway bylaw was passed, and that actually was adopted, I think, 94 and 96. So a lot of the common driveways that I could think of were ones on Farm Road, Pierce Lane. They were all prior to this time. So none of them had any type of the criteria that we have right now in our bylaw. I still did not come up with anything else that was since the 96 timeframe going forward. They were the two driveways the by right ones versus a special permit. So we enacted the special permit ones after a bunch of other ones had been done.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we're able to respond to his comments, and
Yeah.
I couldn't remember exactly what it was without going back and looking at my notes, but
Yeah. And a couple other ones that we've been thinking of, Barracat or Knollcrest, were actually all done as subdivisions, not common driveways. So, yes, I did look further into it and did go through researching when we actually initiated that bylaw.
So some of the comments that he asked us to think about also were beyond the scope of the bylaw.
Right, or the planning board hearing. It was not.
So then, d- um, I guess is the abutter hoping that this would be treated as needing to be a subdivision rather than getting a special permit for a driveway? Is that what they're kind of like hoping for?
No, I don't think so, but it's
Okay.
it's not on our agenda to discuss, so I can give my town plan report, but I really
And that's it. Yeah, that's good.
can't go into anything else.
Yep.
Any other topics, questions, issues, concerns? Hearing none, I make a motion that we adjourn this meeting at 9:02 p.m. on February the 10th to reconvene at a hearing on February the 24th. Do I have a second?
second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, Brett,
Aye.
Steph,
Aye.
Rob,
Hi.
Jim.
Aye.
Well, right. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful evening. Hopefully we don't have anything to shovel in the morning.
Thanks. Bye-bye, everyone.
Good night.
Right.